So we got to Darwin. We've shown exactly how speciation has been contentious over the years, and it's not any better now. I'm going to talk to you next about the modern species concept. The species concepts are sort of a defined way of figuring out whether an organism is its own species or they're separate species. How do you distinguish? The issue we're going to run into with every single one of these concepts is that you cannot define a species in all cases with any one of them. Each of them has their flaws. Each of them has their problems. There are 4 competing species concepts, and you guys should know that I really love. There are 4 of these, describe each. So if you ever to come across an assessment, expect things like, 4s. I better start writing things about each one of those. The biological species concept, evolutionary lineage concept, ecological species concept, and general lineage concept. First off, my personal favorite, the biological species concept. It states that if 2 creatures cannot reproduce to produce fertile offspring, then they are different species. You and a gorilla cannot mate to produce fertile offspring. Boom, different species. Cats and dogs cannot mate to produce fertile offspring. Thus, different species. Does that make sense? Pretty cut and dry, pretty nice. The issue comes into play when you find that what we would normally consider to be 2 species can mate to produce reproductively fertile offspring. One example is right here. It's the, what is it called? Wolfin. Whales and dolphins are different species, yes? Entirely different groups. Turns out, though, if you were to take a pilot whale and a dolphin and mate them together, you end up with a fertile wolfin. So, are whales and dolphins different species? By that, no, they're not. How about this? This came into play again, modern issues with speciation. Some species are protected by international law. The blue whale is one of them. The blue whale is the largest creature that's ever roamed the earth, 100 feet long. And they're highly endangered. There was a whaling operation in, I want to say, Norway, that was recorded as having a blue whale that it was processing. They said, that's not a blue whale, that's a gray whale. And so it became a big issue. They said, we can, of course, take gray whales. This is part of our culture. We're allowed to do this. International community said, that's a blue whale. They took DNA samples. Turns out it was a hybrid between the blue whale and the gray whale. So who was right? Right? Both are right. There became the issue of, well, there's a blue whale, gray whale hybrid that was reproductively fertile. It actually had calves in it. They took a pregnant mother, right? But due to the biological species concept fell down with that particular group of organisms. Blue whales and gray whales can't be distinguished by reproductive isolation. Plants are another big problem. Think about plants that you've got 2 different species of plants. You could take 2 different types of daylilies, for instance. Daylilies can have multiple species. You cross them together, you get a fertile offspring. That's how you actually, often a lot of times, plants can produce new species. We'll talk about that later today, called allopolyploidy. You had 2 plants that their genomes merged to create a brand new species altogether. And because plants are not asexual, they're sexual, but they don't need another plant. They are perfect flowers, which means they can fertilize themselves. You can get a whole new species from one plant. How would you distinguish between bacteria using a biological species concept? They just reproduce asexually. Does that mean every new bacteria that's spawned is its own species? Because none of them can mate with each other? Crazy, right? So that doesn't hold much water. Let's talk about the evolutionary lineage concept. They're defined by a specific evolutionary pathway. Each new species is a direct descendant of an immediate ancestral species. This is the problem we ran into before. At what point do you say this is a new species? At what point do you say this is no longer the old species, this is new? There's some generational break between humans and early human, whatever came before Homo sapiens. Some break between chickens and dinosaurs. Got the ecological species concept. It's defined by a group sharing that common niche. These are the stupid yellow jackets, or wasps. They some live in the ground, some live up in trees. They can mate together, they choose not to. But they have distinctly different ecologies. They even forage for different food. They live in different places, they act differently. They're different species. That's the ecological concept based on what they do in the environment and how they live. We have the general lineage concept. I think this is a cop-out one, but each species is a population of independently evolving lineages that evolved from a specific series of ancestors and, as a consequence, forms a group of organisms with a particular set of characteristics. That is, you combine the evolutionary concept, and the morphological, the ecological concept. You put them together, you get all of their strengths, but you also pick up all their weaknesses. But when you end up with something like this, look at this end of it. Forms a group of organisms with a particular set of characteristics. Where have we seen that before? It's a description of population, but it's also exactly what we've been saying for the past 2,000 to 3,000 years. We've gone through all of this. We've jumped through all of these hoops, and we're still right back to we know it when we see it.